This is ridiculous.
My mother's perfect match for me was a neurosurgeon facing prison time for a child's death, and when his stunning ex-fiancée appeared at his apartment while I was wearing nothing but his shirt, she smiled and said 3 words that made my blood run cold: I can help. 6 weeks until trial, 30 witnesses to find, and one impossible choice: let her save him and lose him forever, or watch the man I was falling for get destroyed in court. I chose war, but I didn't know the real battle was just beginning. Everyone called my mother a saint. I called her a liar. Not because she didn't care for the sick, she did. Every Tuesday and Thursday she'd walk into St. Helena's Hospice with that serene smile, carrying homemade soup and fresh flowers. She'd hold dying hands, whisper prayers, and leave them feeling like maybe death wasn't so terrible after all. But saints don't scheme. Saints don't manipulate. And saints definitely don't arrange marriages for their daughters like they're ordering takeout. I found out about mine on a Wednesday. Nadia, sweetheart, Mom said over breakfast, her tone deceptively casual. I've been meaning to tell you something wonderful. I looked up from my coffee. If it involves essential oils or another juice cleanse, I'm moving out. She laughed, that practiced, melodic sound she used on hospital administrators and church board members. Nothing like that. I found someone for you. My fork clattered against the plate. Excuse me? His name is Marcus Chen. Brilliant neurosurgeon, very handsome, comes from an excellent family. His mother and I have been friends for years. We thought. You thought wrong. I stood up so fast my chair scraped against the tile. I'm 26, not some medieval princess you can auction off. Don't be dramatic. It's just one dinner. If you don't like him, that's fine. But Nadia? Her eyes went soft, the way they did when she was about to deploy emotional manipulation. I won't be around forever. I need to know you're taken care of. You're 53 and healthier than I am. Life is unpredictable. I wanted to argue more, but she'd already turned back to her crossword puzzle, the conversation apparently over in her mind. That was Mom's superpower, saying outrageous things with such calm certainty that you started questioning your own sanity instead of hers. I agreed to the dinner just to shut her up. That was my first mistake. If this moment pulled you in, stay with them. Subscribe and do not look away. Their story has already started. Stay with me. Like the video, subscribe for free, and comment your thoughts below. The restaurant Mom chose was the kind of place where the menu didn't have prices and the waiters treated you like royalty or peasants depending on your clothes. I wore jeans and a leather jacket out of spite. Marcus was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table, perfectly groomed in a charcoal suit. He stood when he saw me, good manners at least, and extended his hand. Nadia. It's wonderful to finally meet you. Your mother has told me so much. I wish I could say the same. I shook his hand briefly. Let's get this over with. If my rudeness bothered him, he didn't show it. We sat. He ordered wine. I ordered whiskey. The waiter's eyebrows climbed half an inch. So, Marcus said, smiling like this was a normal date, your mother mentioned you work in graphic design? I do. Freelance. Which means I work from home in my pajamas and talk to my cat more than humans. Sounds peaceful. It's lonely. I don't know why I said that. It slipped out before I could stop it, and something flickered in his eyes, not pity but understanding. I get that, he said quietly. Operating rooms are full of people, but you've never felt more alone than when a patient is dying and there's nothing left to do. I studied him, then really looked at him. Mid-30s, tired eyes despite the polished exterior, hands that were steady but scarred. Not from accidents, from work. From saving lives and losing them. Maybe this wouldn't be completely terrible. We talked through appetizers. He was smart, funny in a dry way, and refreshingly honest about how weird this whole arranged situation was. By the time our entrees arrived, I'd almost forgotten why I was supposed to hate this. Then his phone rang. I'm so sorry, he said, glancing at the screen. His expression changed, tightened. I have to take this. He stepped away from the table, and I watched through the window as he paced outside, his free hand gesturing sharply. Whatever the conversation was, it wasn't good. When he came back 5 minutes later, his face was a careful mask. Emergency at the hospital? I guessed. Something like that. He sat down but didn't touch his food. Nadia, I need to be honest with you about something. My stomach dropped. You're married. What? No. God, no. He ran a hand through his hair, disturbing the perfect styling. I'm being sued. Malpractice. A patient died 6 months ago during a risky surgery, and the family is claiming negligence. My lawyer says the case is solid, but it's going to trial, and if I lose, you lose everything. My license, my reputation, everything I've worked for. He looked at me, then really looked, and there was something raw in his gaze. Your mother didn't tell you that part, did she? She left that out of the sales pitch. Yeah. I'm sorry. This was a mistake. You seem like a genuinely good person, and you don't deserve to get dragged into my disaster. He reached for his wallet. Let me pay for dinner and we can both pretend this never happened. I should have let him. Should have walked away right then, gone home, yelled at my mother for setting me up with someone whose life was imploding. Instead I said, tell me about the patient. He blinked. What? The one who died. Tell me what happened. So he did. The patient was a 12-year-old girl named Emma. Brain tumor, inoperable by conventional standards. Her parents had begged Marcus to try anyway. He'd warned them about the risks, made them sign every waiver his hospital's legal team could draft. But he tried because that's what you do when a child is dying and you're the only chance she has. She died on the table. And now her parents wanted someone to blame. I didn't make a mistake, Marcus said, his voice barely above a whisper. I've gone over that surgery 1,000 times. I did everything right. But she was too sick and I couldn't save her. I believe you. He looked up, surprised. Why? Because if you didn't care, you wouldn't be falling apart right now. I leaned forward. My mother might be manipulative and overbearing, but she's a good judge of character. If she thinks you're worth my time, you probably are. That might be the nicest thing anyone said to me in months. Don't get used to it. I'm usually much meaner. He laughed, a real laugh this time, not the polite dinner date version. It transformed his entire face, made him look younger, less haunted. So, I said, are we doing this? The whole arranged marriage thing. You still want to, knowing I might lose everything? I design logos for pet groomers and essential oil MLMs. My life could use some drama. You're insane. Probably. But you haven't run away yet, so what does that say about you? He smiled. That I'm desperate. Good. Desperation makes people interesting. If you feel the chemistry building, stay close. Subscribe so you do not miss the next chapter. Comment what you think they are about to do. Stay with me. Like the video, subscribe for free, and comment your thoughts below. We started seeing each other after that. Not dating exactly, more like circling each other, trying to figure out if this could actually work. Marcus was buried in depositions and strategy meetings with his lawyers. I was buried in deadlines and trying to avoid my mother's increasingly pointed questions about wedding venues. We're not even engaged, I told her for the 15th time. Technicalities, she said, waving her hand dismissively. I ran into Catherine Chen at the grocery store. She says Marcus talks about you constantly. He's probably complaining. He's smitten. It's adorable. I wanted to argue, but my phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. Survived another day of legal hell. Want to help me drink away my sorrows? I texted back. Only if we're drinking something expensive. His response was immediate. I know a place. The place turned out to be his apartment. A sleek, minimalist space that screamed, I'm never home long enough to decorate. He'd ordered Thai food and had a bottle of wine that probably cost more than my rent. Fancy, I said, looking around. The wine or the apartment? Both. The apartment came furnished. The wine was a gift from a grateful patient's family. Before everything went to hell, I used to get a lot of those. We sat on his couch, eating straight from the containers because neither of us felt like pretending this was fancy. He told me about the deposition. Hours of hostile questions, lawyers picking apart every decision he'd made in surgery, trying to paint him as reckless. They made it sound like I didn't care, he said quietly. Like Emma was just another case to me. But she wasn't. No. She was, his voice cracked. He set down his food, pressing his palms against his eyes. I still see her sometimes. When I close my eyes. I see her parents' faces when I had to tell them she didn't make it. I moved closer without thinking, close enough that our shoulders touched. You tried to save her. That matters. Does it? If I lose this case, it won't matter what I intended. I'll be the doctor who killed a kid. Then we make sure you don't lose. He looked at me. You think I'm going to let some ambulance-chasing lawyers destroy you? Please. I've dealt with clients who steal my designs and refuse to pay. Lawyers are nothing. Despite everything, he smiled. You're terrifying. I know. It's part of my charm. He kissed me then. It wasn't planned or smooth. Our noses bumped and I tasted red curry on his lips. But it was real, desperate and honest, and exactly what we both needed. When we pulled apart, he looked stunned. I shouldn't have done that. Why not? Because everything in my life is falling apart, and you deserve better than getting caught in the debris. Maybe I like debris. Maybe I'm tired of safe and boring. Nadia. Shut up and kiss me again. So he did. We fell into a rhythm after that. Marcus would work brutal hospital shifts and then endure brutal legal meetings. I'd work from home, fielding calls from my mother about flowers and seating charts for a wedding we hadn't agreed to have. And at night we'd find each other, sometimes at his place, sometimes at mine, and pretend the outside world didn't exist. Was good. Better than good. Until the day I met Vanessa. She showed up at Marcus's apartment on a Saturday morning while I was making coffee in one of his shirts. I heard the knock, assumed it was a delivery, and opened the door without thinking. The woman on the other side was stunning. Tall, elegant, with perfect posture and the kind of bone structure that suggested good breeding and expensive skincare. She looked me up and down, taking in my bare legs and disheveled hair, and her expression didn't change at all. "You must be Nadia," she said. "I'm Vanessa. Marcus's fiancée." The world tilted. "Ex-fiancée," Marcus said from behind me. I turned. He was in sweatpants, his hair still messy from sleep, and his face had gone pale. "Vanessa, what are you doing here? We need to talk. Privately." Her eyes flicked to me. "If you don't mind." I minded very much. But Marcus was already moving toward the door, and I was still trying to process the word fiancé, ex or otherwise. "Give me a minute," Marcus said to me, and before I could respond, he was stepping into the hallway with her, closing the door behind them. I stood there in his kitchen holding a coffee mug, feeling like the stupidest person alive. He'd never mentioned an ex-fiancée. We talked about past relationships, casual mentions, nothing heavy, but he'd never said the words, "I was engaged before." Through the door I could hear muffled voices. Vanessa's was sharp, controlled. Marcus's was low, placating. I should have left. Should have gotten dressed and walked out before this got messy. But I stayed. Because I needed to know. When Marcus came back inside 10 minutes later, he looked like he'd aged a year. "That was Vanessa," he said unnecessarily. "Your ex-fiancée." "Yes. We broke up 2 years ago." "And you didn't think to mention that?" "It didn't seem relevant." "Didn't seem." I set down the mug before I threw it. "How is that not relevant?" "Because it's over. She's married now, has been for a year. I don't know why she's here. She seems to think she does." Marcus ran a hand over his face. "She wants to help with the lawsuit. Her husband is a lawyer, corporate, but he has connections. She thinks she can make it go away. And what does she want in return?" "I don't know." "Liar." His eyes snapped to mine. "Excuse me? You're lying. Or you're stupid. And I don't think you're stupid." I crossed my arms. "What does she want, Marcus?" He was quiet for a long moment. Then, "She wants me back." "This scene hit you? Pause with me. Like the video if you felt it. Subscribe to keep following them. Comment whose heart is about to break. Stay with me. Like the video, subscribe for free, and comment your thoughts below. The silence in the apartment was suffocating. "She's married," I finally said. "Unhappily, apparently. And she thinks running back to you is the solution. She thinks we made a mistake. That I made a mistake when I ended things." "Did you?" "No." He stepped closer, his eyes fierce. "I ended it because she wanted a perfect life with a perfect husband who had a perfect career. When things got hard, when my hours got longer and my stress got worse, she bailed. She doesn't want me, she wants the version of me that doesn't exist anymore. And now she's offering to save your career. I don't want her help. I don't want anything from her. But you need help." He didn't answer, which was answer enough. I grabbed my jeans from the back of his couch and started getting dressed. "I should go." "Nadia, wait. I'm not mad. I just need to think. About us. About whether I'm strong enough for this." I pulled on my jacket. "Your life is complicated, Marcus. Lawsuits and ex-fiancés and my mother planning a wedding neither of us agreed to. Maybe we're both just grabbing onto each other because we're drowning. Is that what you think this is?" I don't know what to think anymore. I left before he could say anything else, before I could change my mind, before I could make this even harder than it already was. I didn't talk to Marcus for 3 days. My mother noticed immediately. "You're moping," she said, appearing in my apartment doorway with a casserole I hadn't asked for. "What happened?" "Nothing. Nadia Marie Reeves, I raised you better than to lie to my face." She set the casserole on my counter and crossed her arms. "Did Marcus do something?" "He has an ex-fiancée who wants him back and can also save his career from complete destruction. So there's that." Mom's expression didn't change. And? Mom, that's a pretty big, and. So he has a past. You have a past. Everyone does. My past doesn't show up offering to fix my life in exchange for reconciliation. What did Marcus say when she offered? I hesitated. That he doesn't want her help. Then what's the problem? The problem is that he needs it. His entire future is on the line, and I'm standing here being selfish because I don't want him accepting help from his gorgeous, successful ex-fiancée who probably never wore his t-shirt to answer the door looking like a disaster. Mom sat down at my tiny kitchen table. Come here. I sat across from her reluctantly. When I was your age, she said, I dated a man named Thomas. He was brilliant, charming, came from money. Everyone thought we'd get married. I've never heard you mention him. Because he doesn't matter. Not to the story I'm living now. She reached across the table and took my hand. What matters is that I chose your father instead. Thomas was easier. No complications, no struggles. Your father was a mess. Medical school debt, working 2 jobs, barely had time to sleep let alone date. But he loved me fiercely and I loved him the same way. Dad's been gone for 8 years, Mom. And I'd choose him again in every lifetime. Her eyes were bright. Marcus isn't asking you to be easy, Nadia. He's asking you to be brave. The question is whether you love him enough to fight for him. I barely know him. You know enough. I see it when you talk about him. When you check your phone hoping it's him. You know. I pulled my hand back. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You just never listened. She stood up. Now eat that casserole and call him. Tell him you're not going anywhere. And if Vanessa destroys everything, then you'll rebuild together. That's what love does. I called Marcus that night. He answered on the first ring. Nadia. Don't accept her help. Silence. Then, I wasn't planning to. Good. Because I have a better idea. I'm listening. We fight this lawsuit the right way. With the truth. With evidence. With everything you have that proves you did nothing wrong. My lawyers are ready. Your lawyers are playing defense. We need offense. We need character witnesses, medical experts who'll back you up, former patients who'll testify about how good you are. That could take months. The trial starts in 6 weeks. Then we work fast. I took a breath. I'm all in, Marcus. If you want me here, I'm here. But you need to promise me something. Anything. Promise me we're doing this together. No secrets, no ex-fiancés showing up with magical solutions, no shutting me out when things get hard. I promise. His voice was rough. Nadia, I'm sorry. About Vanessa, about not telling you. We'll talk about it later. Right now we have work to do. Before we continue, quick question. Where in the world are you watching from? Drop it in the comments and subscribe for free because the next story might be even crazier than this one. The next 6 weeks were a blur. Marcus gave me access to everything. Medical records, surgery reports, witness statements. I built spreadsheets, timelines, visual presentations that broke down every second of Emma's surgery. I contacted former patients and their families, asking if they'd be willing to testify about Marcus's skill and character. More than 30 people said yes. My mother helped, somehow rallying her hospice network to find medical professionals willing to review the case pro bono. Marcus's lawyers were skeptical at first, but when we walked into their office with binders of evidence and a list of expert witnesses, their attitudes shifted. This is good work, the lead attorney admitted. Really good. Thank my girlfriend, Marcus said, his hand finding mine under the table. She's relentless. The attorney smiled. I can see that. Vanessa called Marcus twice during those weeks. He didn't answer. She showed up at the hospital once and I happened to be there dropping off lunch. We stared at each other across the lobby like gunslingers in a western. You're still here, she said. I'm not going anywhere. He's going to lose everything. You know that, right? This lawsuit will destroy him. Not if I have anything to say about it. She laughed, sharp and bitter. You think love is enough? How naive. Maybe. But at least I'm not trying to manipulate him into taking me back by dangling his career like bait. Her expression hardened. I could still help him. One phone call and this all goes away. And what would that cost him? His integrity? His self-respect? Me? I stepped closer. He doesn't need your help, Vanessa. He never did. He just needs someone who believes in him. And you think that's you? I know it is. She left without another word. Marcus appeared beside me a moment later, carrying his white coat. You okay? He asked. Better than okay. I think I just won something. What? Self-respect. Possibly a future with you. Depends how the trial goes. He kissed my forehead. Regardless of how it goes, you already have the future. I'm not letting you go. Good. Because my mother already picked out centerpieces. He laughed, and for the first time in weeks I felt like we might actually survive this. The trial started on a gray Monday morning. The courtroom was smaller than I expected, packed with people I didn't know. Emma's parents sat in the front row, their faces carved from grief and anger. Marcus sat at the defense table, perfectly still, his eyes focused straight ahead. I sat behind him, close enough to touch his shoulder if he needed it. The prosecution went first. They painted Marcus as arrogant, reckless, a doctor who'd taken an impossible case to feed his ego. They brought in medical experts who questioned his decisions, who suggested alternative approaches that might have saved Emma. It was brutal. Surgical. By the lunch break, Marcus looked hollowed out. "They're destroying me," he said quietly. We were in a small conference room, his lawyers strategizing in the corner. "Everything I did, they're twisting it. They're doing their job. Now we do ours." I squeezed his hand. "You saved Emma from dying alone in 6 months of agony. You gave her a chance. Her parents knew the risks. They're grieving. They need someone to blame. That doesn't make them right." The afternoon session started, and Marcus's lawyers began their defense. They called medical experts who explained why Marcus's approach had been sound, why the alternatives wouldn't have worked. They called former patients who testified about surgeries Marcus had performed successfully, lives he'd saved when others had given up. One woman brought her 8-year-old son, who'd had a tumor removed by Marcus 3 years ago. The boy was healthy, smiling, alive. Dr. Chen gave us hope when everyone else said there was none, the mother said, her voice breaking. "He's not reckless. He's a miracle worker." I watched the jury. Several were wiping their eyes. Then they called me. I wasn't expecting it. Marcus's lawyer had mentioned it as a possibility, but I didn't think they'd actually do it. But there I was, walking to the witness stand, swearing to tell the truth. "Ms. Reeves," the lawyer said, "how do you know Dr. Chen?" "We're in a relationship." "How long have you known him?" 2 months. "And in that time, what have you observed about his character?" I looked at Marcus. He was watching me, his expression unreadable. "He cares," I said simply. "About his patients, about doing the right thing, about not giving up even when it's easier to walk away. He carries the weight of every person he couldn't save, and it's destroying him from the inside. But he keeps trying because that's who he is." "Objection," the prosecution said. "Speculation about the defendant's internal state." "Sustained," the judge said. The lawyer nodded. "Ms. Reeves, did Dr. Chen ever discuss Emma's case with you?" "Yes. He told me about the surgery, the risks, the decision he made to try anyway." "And what was his emotional state when discussing it?" "Devastated. He blamed himself even though he'd done everything right. He kept saying he should have saved her, like it was a personal failure instead of a tragedy." "Thank you." No further questions. The prosecution declined to cross-examine me. I returned to my seat, my hands shaking. "Do not walk away now. This is where everything changes. If you are still here, you are part of this story. Stay with me. Like the video, subscribe for free, and comment your thoughts below." The jury deliberated for 2 days. Marcus barely slept. He'd pace his apartment at night, going over the trial in his head, finding new ways to blame himself. I stayed with him, not saying much, just being there. On the morning of the 3rd day, we got the call. The jury had reached a verdict. We drove to the courthouse in silence. My mother met us there. She'd been attending every day, sitting in the back row like a guardian angel. She hugged Marcus before we went inside. "Whatever happens," she said, "you're a good man. Don't forget that." The courtroom filled. The judge entered. The jury filed in, their faces impossible to read. "Has the jury reached a verdict?" the judge asked. "We have, Your Honor." My heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone could hear it. "In the case of Emma Patterson's family versus Dr. Marcus Chen, on the charge of medical malpractice, how do you find?" The forewoman stood. "We find the defendant not guilty." The room erupted. Emma's parents stood up, the mother crying, the father's face twisted in rage. Marcus slumped forward, his head in his hands. I grabbed his shoulders, holding him steady. "It's over," I whispered. "You're okay. It's over." The judge was banging her gavel, calling for order. Marcus's lawyers were shaking his hand, congratulating him. My mother was crying happy tears in the back. And Marcus turned to me, his eyes wet, and said, "Thank you." "For what?" "For believing in me when I didn't believe in myself." I kissed him then, right there in the courtroom, not caring who was watching. Like the video if the ending surprised you. Comment your reaction or your theory. Subscribe for free so you do not miss the next story. The wedding was smaller than my mother wanted but bigger than I'd hoped for. We got married in the hospice garden where Mom volunteered, surrounded by flowers and people who'd learned to appreciate life's fragility. Emma's parents didn't come. I didn't expect them to, but several of Marcus's former patients did, including the woman with the 8-year-old boy. Marcus cried during his vows. So did I. You saved me, he said, his voice breaking. Not from the lawsuit. From myself. From thinking I had to carry everything alone. You're stuck with me now, I replied. For better or worse. Mostly worse, probably. Everyone laughed. My mother sobbed. We honeymooned in Greece, 2 weeks of sleeping late and eating too much and not thinking about lawsuits or death or anything heavy. Just us building something new. On our last night, we sat on a beach watching the sunset. Your mother texted me, Marcus said. Of course she did. What did she want? To know when we're giving her grandchildren. I groaned. We've been married for 2 weeks. I told her we'd think about it. You're encouraging her. She's your mother. Someone has to. He pulled me closer. But for the record, I wouldn't mind. Someday. When we're ready. Someday, I agreed. After you learn to cook something other than Thai takeout. Deal. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sky turn from gold to pink to deep purple. I love you, Marcus said quietly. I know. You married me, remember? Best decision I ever made. Second best, I corrected. First was asking me to help with the trial. You didn't give me a choice. Exactly. I'm very bossy. It's one of your most attractive qualities. I laughed, leaning my head against his shoulder. Behind us, the Mediterranean whispered against the shore. Ahead of us, a future I'd never planned for but couldn't imagine living without. My mother had been right, she usually was, annoyingly enough. Love wasn't about finding someone easy. It was about finding someone worth fighting for. And Marcus was worth every battle. If you loved this story, subscribe for more high-stakes romance. Comment which moment hit you hardest. Like the video to support the channel. New stories drop every week. Don't miss the next one.